Okay, very good. So, James, we are all yours and very grateful for your presence again this Sunday.
You.
Thank you for being with us.
And I am all yours.
Yeah,
It's, yeah,
like,
good to be with you again, as always. And I'd like to start with a time of contemplation. So I invite you to find as comfortable a position as you can. Take a few moments to breathe and send this thought into the dimension of your body and your feelings. This thought, peace be still. Peace be still. We think of these words as what Jesus said to the storm, to calm the storm. Peace, be still. We know that it is when we find this place of inner stillness, we find the deep silence in our souls. When we most fully experience and know the presence of God that is not only within us, but that in a very real sense, the presence of God that is us, around us. We let go of thoughts of troubles, concerns, worries, or regrets. Let our attention be here now in this moment and in this place of peace and stillness. It is here in this awareness that we know that God is peace. We know I am peace. I am peace. Because I am peace, I can say to my feelings, to my thoughts, to my body, and to my world, peace be still. My world responds to this word, which comes from the deep place of divinity within me. I am peace. Be still. Through this stillness, this calm, this openness, we receive awareness of our limitless possibilities. All things are possible with God. So we are open to those possibilities for ourselves. The infinite and perfect mind, there is a perfect idea for each one of us to express. We let that idea of perfection fill us. Perfection of soul and body. This is the divine possibility. This is the essence of what we are, and this is the essence of what is unfolding through us right now, in us and through us. Perfect thought, the perfect mind. Part of that perfection, an important part of that perfection, is our oneness, is divine love that connects us with each other. So in the stillness, we call to mind that knowing of divine love that connects us with each other and with anyone we think of. So anyone we think of, we are now connected with through love. And our thought of peace is with them and in them right now. Our thought of perfection is with them, within them right now. This is the reality and the essence of their being, each one, expression of divine perfection, of peace and of love. The more we center our consciousness in this stillness and peace, this love, the more fully we are aware and only aware of the divinity that is. Feel the energy of that divine love that flows through us, as our daily word said this morning, flows through us as acts and thoughts of kindness. Without effort, freely, fully, we allow the flow of spirit to manifest in us, through us, and all around us as peace and love. Our intentions are benevolent. Our feelings are of affection and connection. In this knowing of the presence and the power of God, we find health, we find wholeness, for God is health and wholeness. God is life. I am that life. I am that health and wholeness. You are that life, that health and wholeness. Everyone you think of is immersed in and filled with that divine energy of love, life, vitality, and strength. As we are knowing this, we support them in experiencing and expressing fuller and fuller dimensions and energies of spirit. The light of God, that is intelligence and wisdom and understanding, is available to us as we open ourselves so that we may receive guidance, we may receive greater understanding, we may expand the light of truth in our consciousness and in our world. So we tranquilly, serenely experience the divine energies of love, life, light. We are immersed in and filled with that Holy Spirit. And our thoughts and prayers touch the lives of those we think of to support them in their good. So in stillness and silence, we simply rest in the experience of the divine spirit, the energies of life, light, and love. Allow that presence and that spirit to fill us with perfect bliss and silence. Carry with us in our world this day and every day this awareness of the divine presence, the divine energies and light of spirit, the bliss, the perfect peace of God. We realize in this moment, as we are knowing this with gratitude in our hearts, that this knowing and our being is the Christ. It is praying in the name of the Christ and the consciousness of the Christ. All fear, all worry, all trouble is dissolved in this awareness, the perfect peace, love, and power of God. This is our reality. We are grateful. We accept it. And so it is right now. Amen.
Amen. Oh.
Welcome back. Keep
Mm.
that spirit with you. That's the most important thing.
Well, thank you very much. That was amazing. That was very beautiful.
Yeah. So you're probably aware that by this point that I'm kind of a philosopher. I say kind of a philosopher. I tend to approach things philosophically, and I hope that's okay. We all have sort of, as Maya pointed out, we have our unique ways of being in the world. And one of the things that I've realized over the years in studies of religion and philosophy is that the question behind most of philosophy, religion, and theology is simply, why are we here? Now, the question, why are we here, is actually ambiguous, so it has multiple possible meanings. And so when I say that's the question, what I mean is that maybe those are the questions behind what philosophy is about. Uh, when we ask why are we here, we could be asking what caused us to be here. We could be asking, is there a reason for the existence of the universe, or is there a reason for the existence of us as human beings? Or it could be asking, what is the meaning of all this, or what is the meaning of life? And it could be asking, what is the purpose of our existence? Many other questions are sort of wrapped into that one question. Why are we here? So today I intend to tackle two of those possible meanings of that question. Last week I discussed the idea of the cause of the existence, the origin of things, and made a case for the idea that everything is being, becoming in and through the infinite and eternal mind. Um, as you well know, there is a distinction between the common religious idea of God as a person and the metaphysical and mystical idea of God as infinite mind or spirit or consciousness. So I move on to from the question of the cause or the origin of things to the two questions that I want to address today, which are, what is the meaning of it all? What is the purpose of our existence? Now, those questions are related, and they might even seem to be the same, but there is a subtle and important distinction between them. Just as an example, if you were to ask, what are the purposes of the computer, you might come up with a different answer than if you're asked, what is the meaning of the existence of computers? So the difference is subtle, and I think we can make that even clearer as we think about it. So first, the question of meaning. If I were to ask you, do you think your life is worthwhile? Is life worth living? I'm almost certain that you would easily respond, yes, of course, no question. And I believe almost all humans, most of the time, would answer the same way. If they are enjoying their lives for the most part, they would certainly feel that life is worth living. And even if they were in a period of a time of suffering, they would still have hope for the end of that suffering and a return to enjoying life. So even when we aren't enjoying life so much, we still have hope. And answering from that place, we would answer, yes, life is worthwhile. Life is worth living. Now suppose that I ask you, is your life meaningful? And you might briefly hesitate before answering, because you probably recognize that this is not exactly the same as asking if your life is worthwhile. Is it meaningful? A reasonable person might not have pondered the question of the meaningfulness of their life. They might be too busy enjoying it, for example, or just too busy living it to wonder, is my life meaningful? And so a reasonable person could honestly answer, I don't know. if my life is meaningful. So our thoughts may stumble on the meaning of meaning. If we have uncertainty about the meaningfulness of our own lives, we could be completely stumped about the meaningfulness of the universe as a whole. In fact, Jean-Paul Sartre and other existentialists attracted a significant following with their philosophy of existentialism, which asserts that life is meaningless, that there is no meaning to existence, and therefore we have to create our own meaning. And there, I'm sure, are many people still who would agree that life or existence is really meaningless and that we have to create our own meaning. And yet, one could, again, asserting that life is meaningless, still find life enjoyable and worthwhile. So let's see if we can sort out the meaning of meaning. When we want to know the meaning of a word, we usually go to a dictionary. That's what we're accustomed to. And what do we find when we look in the dictionary? We look up a word to find its meaning, and what we find are more words. If we don't know what some of those words mean, we look them up. And if we find more words we don't mean, we look them up too, and so on and so on, until we grasp the meaning of the new word and all the words that are associated with it. What this simple process of learning indicates is that the meaning of any given word is related to the meanings of other words. Language is a holistic matrix of words and grammatical rules, and each word and sentence derives meaning from the whole of the language. We may sometimes think of language as sort of constructed like a building, bit by bit, with word by word. But the truth is that every word derives its meaning from other words. And so every word derives its meaning from the whole of language. The words, the meanings, are an interconnected system of relationships. And likewise, our beliefs, which we can usually state in sentences, our beliefs are part of the matrix of our belief system. Our beliefs are all interconnected. And if we discover that we have had a false belief, it can modify the whole system of our beliefs, may completely transform how we perceive reality. But somehow every belief is related to all the others. Now, this is not an original thought with me. I actually learned it from the study of one of the branches of philosophy, the philosophy of language. This is pretty much what most contemporary philosophers who reflect on language and logic have concluded, that it's really a holistic system. Everything is interconnected. The meaning, and this is my point, the meaning of everything and of all things, considered as a whole, is that everything is interconnected. Everything indicates that there's a fundamental unity of language, beliefs, and experiences. You cannot really truly separate your experience of a single flower from your experience of the universe as a whole, from your understandings of colors and shapes, fragrances, the earth, the sky. It's all one, it's all interconnected. So when we feel the interconnectedness of universe, of reality, we are feeling the meaningfulness of existence. We are feeling the meaningfulness of our own lives in these interconnections. In other words, when we feel love in any of its dimensions, we are consciousness of the meaningfulness of existence. This is something that in your services is continually emphasized, even in our daily word this morning about love and kindness, and our idea of the opening statements about what our religion and race is. In other words, when we feel love in any of its dimensions, whether it's kindness or affection or benevolence, we are conscious of the meaningfulness of existence. We are aware of the real meaning of things. If you think and feel deeply about your own life, you will find, I believe, that it is love that makes your life meaningful. No matter how much or how little you may have, no matter how much you may like or dislike your work, no matter how impressive or unimpressive you are to others, none of those things make your life meaningful to you or to others. What really matters, what makes your life meaningful, are the people that you care about, the people who care about you, the people you love, and those who love you. I think if you look in your heart, you realize, well, of course, that's true. Meaning is oneness, meaning is love. Love is what makes existence meaningful. You feel what I'm saying, you get why I say that oneness, love, is the meaning of it all. And you get why, just as I am convinced that God is infinite mind, I am also convinced that God is oneness itself. God is unity. God is love. And so you could say, so far I've included something that probably doesn't surprise you at all, that God is not only the cause of it all, but also the meaning of it all in some sense. So this brings me to the second question, the seemingly related one. What is the purpose of life? As I said earlier, this sounds similar to the question of the meaning of life, but it is different. Purpose implies a goal to be achieved, an objective. The objective could be personal, as in I have life objectives or career goals. The objective could be universal, as in the idea that God had a purpose for creation. That was sort of the main point that Aristotle taught, that everything has a purpose, and it became a fundamental part of all theological thought for 1,000 years. God has a purpose, a goal. So we could think of God as having a purpose for creation. But mostly, when you think in human terms, we think in pluralities. When people make what they call bucket lists, I don't know if you've ever made bucket lists. I haven't, but I know people do that. When people make these bucket lists, they are identifying a variety of purposes, things they hope to do or to accomplish. And as I believe I've shown, if they love, then their life is meaningful, and that meaning remains no matter how many things they check off of their bucket list. One can even experience one's life as meaningful without having any particular purposes in mind. So, of course, you can have loving purposes, you can have meaningful purposes, you can have purposes of finding a special person to love, or the purpose of loving more deeply or expressing your love more fully. It's just that you can have those purposes along with all other kinds of purposes. You can have career objectives, financial goals, artistic ambitions, health goals, and weight goals. So, in that sense, we create or choose our purposes. There's no one set of purposes that is adopted by every single person. We have freedom to imagine and pursue a variety of purposes every day, and even to change our goals and our objectives. So I go back to that question. What is the purpose of existence? And in a sense, in a very real sense, that's what we choose. That's what we create. But I still wonder, is there a general or universal purpose for existence? That is a deeper and more difficult question to answer. And we can surmise a number of possible answers. We might suppose that the purpose of the universe is for us to learn love. We might reasonably suppose that the purpose is for us to learn how to be more godlike, how to express our divinity. Philosophers and theologians have frequently argued that our purpose is to serve God. That's sort of what Socrates thought our purpose was, to serve God, or as he would have put it among the Greeks, to serve the gods. Again, we might suppose that from another angle, our purpose is to make heaven on earth, or our purpose is just to express our potential. Since it's obvious that humans have many purposes, it seems unlikely that a single purpose could be identified for the infinite mind, the divine source of us all. But suppose instead of thinking in terms of all the many purposes humans have, we look at a general description of human life. Perhaps a very general description would suggest a general purpose, as opposed to all those specific ones we might have, apart from those that we may have during our lifetime. Is there a kind of general purpose in living? As I reflected on this question, I thought of one of our great poets and playwrights who was also one of our most astute and insightful observers of humanity. And as I thought of him, William Shakespeare, uh, I realized that he provided a kind of useful and somewhat comedic general description of human life in one of his plays. This description from the comedy As You Like It, and it reflects the life of a human in Elizabethan times, specifically a man in Elizabethan times. So, in some degree, as we hear it, we need to sort of mentally interpret for our times and all genders. But I think it's one of the better general descriptions of human life that suggests a purpose of human life. This is the way it goes. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like a snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, and sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe, and a beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. Shakespeare's notion that we are all playing different parts in a play traces human experience from birth through infancy, childhood, youth, middle age, senior years, and finally the end. Sans, in case you're not familiar with that, just means without teeth, eyes, taste, without everything. We all have our own life stories, roughly corresponding to Shakespeare's tale. I can certainly relate to the justice with his round belly. I've reached that stage for sure. But we do not all write ballads dedicated to the continence of our beloved, but we can all probably relate to having romantic feelings for someone at some point in our life. We do not all become soldiers, but we can relate to an early period of struggling to make our way in the world, full of energy and ambition. Eventually, we generally settle into a more respectable role, like the justice with the rounded belly uttering sage advice. When we reach senior status, when we become seasoned, as I prefer to think of it, When we reach that age, we may not be as strong, as vigorous as we once were. Our voices may change in tone. We may begin to have the sounds of pipes and whistles in our voice, as Shakespeare said. And we may even start behaving in some ways as if we were children again. We speak of having a second childhood. We may be sometimes confused and needing care from others. So it's a pretty good outline, I think, of how a human life tells a story in different acts. Some, of course, do not lead such long lives, but they have their stories too, perhaps sad or tragic or heroic, but always leaving fond memories for those who love them, no matter how long or short their life may have been. Here's the thing that I notice. One of the things that I know is storytelling comes naturally to us. Telling and hearing the stories of other people's lives endlessly fascinates us. Stories may be told as magazine articles or plays, biographies, poems, songs. They may be fictionalized as novels. Or these days, our stories may be told as a series of Facebook posts or Twitter tweets or podcasts. Religion has stories about the creation of the universe, about human adventures and divine interventions. The story science tells about nature can be just as fascinating, though varying, of course, from human stories in character and plot. After all, what is the physicist's Big Bang Theory but another creation story? And where would National Geographic and Discovery channels be without nature's stories? When someone passes on, all their loved ones gather and tell stories about their beloved. They may tell them before and after services. They may tell them during services. Everyone's life can be told as a story. When one passes on, what remains are memories and the story their life told that is a part of what we are. The story, each story is part of a fabric of tales and adventures, a thread in a tapestry of human experience. And every story intersects with other stories. Right now, we are experiencing our story in a very interconnected way. We are finding meaning. We are finding the meaning of a computer in its connecting story. Every story intersects with all others. Story of anyone that we have interacted with. In short, what every life has in common, no matter how different in detail, no matter how different in purposes, what every life has in common is that every life is a story. And our life stories are threads in the history of the whole universe. Our individual purposes, chosen throughout our lives, are the character motives that drive us through our stories. We may think of ourselves as an improvisational group, entertaining our audiences and ourselves, heading to an as yet unknown climax and denouement. Could it be that the general purpose of life is just to live out our story and thereby become an everlasting thread in the cosmic epic history of the universe? Could it be that Infinite Mind has as its central purpose the telling and experiencing of limitless possibilities in a grand epic, experiencing it all through the view of each character and each audience member? I like to think of our purpose as living out our story. So, how would you like your part to be remembered? You are now in the midst of living your story. You get to improvise the script. You get to direct the movie of your life. Where has the plot taken you so far? What is foreshadowed by your previous scenes and acts? If you do not like where you are in the story, you can change your purpose and so produce a plot twist sending your story in a new direction. Your life is already meaningful because you have loved and been loved. Your life is already purposeful because you have improvised your life story according to the purposes that you have chosen from all your possibilities. You are an essential thread in the meaningfulness of the universe. You are an instrument of divine purpose. You have an essential role in the story of God. So may you play your part well and enjoy the movie. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, James.
My pleasure. I hope you found it meaningful.
Yeah. You want to open it up just a minute or two